Welcome back to Technical Difficulties, pumped direct into your eye sockets from the room in my house that's seen enough aluminum to build a 747 slash... you get the point. Today we're going to knock out another of my most asked questions in one little video so that whenever I get asked about it, I can just link this to drive up the view count. If you're here from the future and you clicked that link, the mysteries you inquired about are about to be revealed. Also, please ride your flying motorcycle to the Space Mart and get me a Hyperlight Coke as a thank you if this helps.
So you want to be a streamer slash content creator slash internet person slash divest yourself of any future job skills? Well, just drink Dr. Ryan's Wonderium Elixir. It's fortified with nutrients and a patent-pending combination of things I found between the cushions of Dr. Ryan's old couch. Dr. Ryan's Wonderium Elixir. It's not guaranteed. Ever. Also, make your gout. I was actually in there. That's, good. Dr. Ryan loves the taste of Dr. Ryan's Wonderium Elixir. It's so good and didn't kill the test gorilla.
Warning, consuming product may result in plant hurting, uncontrollable muscle jigglies, and gout. If only it were that easy, right? Okay, let's talk hardware. You need a computer. For the purposes of that statement, a phone is a tiny computer that's always watching the inside of your pocket, desperate to see your face in daylight again. That's it. We're done. Wasn't terribly hard, was it? Good talk. The blessing and the curse of content creation these days is how easy it is to make and share something. Most gaming computers can handle recording gameplay with a performance hit. Many consoles have recording functions built in, and of course you can record, edit, and upload live action content entirely from your phone. Mainly what I'm going to talk about today is the various pieces of technology that can transform this basic recording functionality into your own personal studio. And I'll try to give a good overview of the benefits of upgrading each part of your setup. First, let's start with a big question in setting up your station. One PC or two? Two PC setup pros. Separating the computer responsible for gaming from the computer responsible for streaming or capturing makes both do their jobs better. Even with the advent of modern multi-core CPUs, which can easily handle the multitasking needed to do both, you'll still find far less issues when you're not trying to accomplish both tasks on a single machine. Oh sure, you could set up two virtual machines on a single computer, thereby mitigating your chances of software or hardware collisions, and if you understood that sentence, you might actually be able to do that. Benefit 2, redundancy. With two computers, you can convert to a single computer setup if you experience technical difficulties. One breaking no longer means you can't work. Cons, it's twice the price. And more clutter, more cables, running everywhere. Drowning in a nest of vipers. You gasp for air, but all you draw in is snakes. You'll either need a KVM or two sets of keyboard and mice on your desk. I do highly recommend including a second monitor in your setup, regardless of if you have one or two PCs. Being able to check chat, ensure your recording is still running, or monitor audio levels while still being able to play full screen on a monitor is incredibly useful. Nothing is more frustrating than finishing a great recording and finding out you've got no footage. Gameplay capture. I'm starting with this one because it's the easiest and yet sometimes the one that is most unknown for people. Everyone probably grew up with some kind of mic and webcam, especially these days, quarantine aside. Remember the tiny future device in your pocket we mentioned earlier has both. But few people have any special equipment to capture video. If all you want to do is capture or stream a PC game, there are several software tools that will let you do that without another piece of hardware. NVIDIA Shadowplay and AMD Relive are both great capturing options. They use part of your existing GPU to record, and OBS can do both capture and streaming all from a single machine. Things get a little more complicated if you bring consoles into the mix. Both the Xbox and the PS4 can stream directly to some of the major streaming platforms, though not all of them. This again is a perfectly reasonable way to start without committing a lot of money. You will be fairly limited in what mic or webcam you can use, and at the whim of the platform as to where you can stream, but you're getting live without buying any extra equipment. And that's not terrible. But let's say you want to have full control and take the next step to be able to capture or stream on your PC. Now you're going to need a video capture card. There are several of these available, many exclusively targeted to the streaming market. I myself have the most experience with products from Elgato, but there are also great offerings from Razer, AverMedia, and innumerable other companies. Things to check when you're thinking about buying one. First, input resolution. You'll want one that can at least handle 1080p 60 frames per second. Even if you don't plan on streaming at 1080, I do recommend you make sure you have that option. 2. Software support. Check and see if the card is compatible with your OS and what software is available from the manufacturer. Some companies mainly rely on third-party capture solutions like OBS to do any actual recording. That may work fine for your needs, but there are also companies like Elgato that have fairly robust bundled capture software, which can make your life easier in a lot of ways. 3. HDMI pass-through. Some capture cards have an HDMI out as well as an in. This allows you to connect the output to a monitor and see what you're playing without having to have a capture window up. 4. Latency. This means the delay between when a console shows something and when it actually appears on the screen of your capture PC. All capture cards have a latency, but some are better than others. Even the extremely low latency cards like the Elgato products, which have the instant gameplay feature, have a very slight lag. If you're a twitchy gamer, you will feel it if you're trying to play on your capture window instead of a pass-through. However, having this low latency is great for streaming as you don't have to tweak your audio and webcam, which come in without a delay to account for it. 5. Internal or external. Make sure if you're getting an internal card that you have a slot available on your motherboard to support it. I feel like I shouldn't have to say that, but here we are. Other than that, as always, read the reviews, find people with experience with that product. If there's a deal on Amazon that looks too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true. Another helpful little gadget in this area is an HDMI switcher if you have more than a single console or an additional PC you want to stream from. You connect all of your consoles to the input and then run the output into your capture card. If you buy a switcher, make sure that it supports the resolution and frame rate that you're going to be passing through it. Okay, let's talk cameras. There's a huge range of webcam options out there. Since I'm sitting on quite a few, I thought it might be easier to show you some of the variations in what your money gets you. Okay, so this is the worst of the worst. This is the Logitech C270. It's a 720p 30 frame per second camera. As you can see, the field of view is pretty minuscule. It also, pretty much this is the focus you're gonna get out of it. The resolution is poor. It's very grainy, 30 frames per second. However, if you just need a talking head in the corner, you gotta remember it's gonna be like tiny compared to the rest of your frame. So at a smaller size, this may actually look okay. And if you've already got one, it works. But let's see what happens if you spend a little bit more money and go to a full HD. Like this one. This is the Logitech C920, which the 920 and the 922 are some of the most popular webcams for streaming. Still same 30 frames per second, but at least it's got a nice wide field of view, so if you're doing something live action, you can actually get up and move around the room without completely leaving frame immediately. It's got okay light response, though you will have to make sure that you have enough light to get even 30 out of it, because if you go much below that, it gets very choppy. But let's see what happens if you want to go all the way up to 60 frames per second, which looks like this. This is the Logitech Brio, and it's sort of the top end of the webcam market. It is capable of doing all the way up to 4K resolution, still at 30, but it can also do 1080-60, so you get a little bit more crispiness in all the movement and a lot less motion blur on things whipping by. It's got a nice wide field of view, so if you're doing a lot more live action stuff, if you're doing a lot more FaceTime things, this might actually be worth the investment just because you have more room to work with, and the 60 frames per second looks much better overall if you can afford to stream it. If you want to do any better than this, you're probably going to have to go to a DSLR, which can take you higher than 1080 resolution, higher than 60 FPS, though most of those are not going to be useful for you if you are a streamer. Also, the field of view is really dictated by your lens, so right now this is even zoomed in a bit. It could go wider than this. The camera you're looking at me on right now is a Sony 6100. Now, aside from the cost of actually buying the camera itself, you will also have to deal with the fact that you need a way to get it into your PC. Some DSLRs support a video over USB format, but a lot of them you will need an additional capture card to get into your computer. Obviously, I went through this list in the order of increasing expense. I'd throw some numbers out there, but COVID has so warped the webcam market that it's difficult to tell you what these things will cost realistically. I know it probably felt a lot like a Logitech ad there at the beginning, but that just happened to be the cameras I had on hand. But hey, Logitech, if you want to slide into my DMs now that you got the milk for free, wink. That's my wink gun. Same rules apply to buying a camera as apply to a video capture card. Read the reviews, figure out what the format is, and make sure that it has decent software support. And there's one more expense hidden in getting a better camera that you might need to consider. Lighting. It turns this view into this view. Or if you want to get real crazy with it, it turns this view into this view, which is a lot more visually appealing. Even getting a small LED panel will really help punch up the light on your face, which will make it much easier to get the high frame rates out of your camera, as well as make it just look a lot better. Especially a DSLR camera can really benefit from having at least some front light on you. A lot of webcams out there, especially the C270 started it before I configured it a bit, will try to drop your frame rate if there's insufficient light. Or this. Or this. Or this. They say yellow is very calming for the insane. As any photographer or videographer will tell you, good lighting should never be overlooked. It's an added expense that you don't need to start with, but in the future, less complicated solutions than all this, just a simple light panel could really make a big difference in how your face looks on the camera. If you don't want them to see your face, lighting can also be a solution. Okay, that wasn't quite as dark as I was hoping, but it's still got some anonymous vibes. And it looks cool. Oh my god, is this my new aesthetic? Last but not least, microphones. Because the chance of building a sustainable audience from only the people that can hear you shouting in your house is very low. Unless you live with Bill Gates or something. In which case, I think that you'd want to be as quiet as possible to avoid security finding you. Let's break them down by connection. Most mics you'll find connect in one of three ways. You've got a 3.5mm jack, which is essentially the same as any headphone connection you've ever seen. Oh, right, Apple users. Wired headphones are an option on most phones in the world from manufacturers who care about the consumer more than pushing fancy earbuds. They're great because they never run out of batteries. I'm kidding. Most manufacturers these days don't care about consumers and have gotten rid of headphone jacks. That doesn't mean I like you anymore, Apple. Anyway, it looks like this. You will need a mic port on your computer somewhere, but that's pretty much standard. Next is USB. You know what USB is. If you don't know what USB is, what are we even doing here? The benefit to USB, though, is if somehow you don't have a mic port on your computer, then this option will still work for you. And lastly, there's XLR, which is the bigger, thick cables with the 3 prongs on a lot of the higher-end mics. You will need a mixer to go with this, as computers don't have XLR ports. No matter how hard you jam it in any other port, it won't work. I promise. Even if you don't go with an XLR mic, a small audio mixer like this was comically just out of reach. Can be very helpful. It allows you to see and balance your mic audio, gameplay audio, and chat audio, and anything else you want to add in without having to do a lot of extra work to set that up in OBS. If you want to get extra fancy, there are options like the Go XLR, which give you sliders like this, as well as several vocal tweaking options like voice changers, a sampler, and built-in compressor, which keeps your audio from getting too loud or too soft. So, you know, when you get all shouty, you won't peak out. When you go to buy a mic, there are loads of options and articles out there about which one is best, so go read them before you buy anything. Once again, I've got some options to let you listen to so you can see what the various qualities of mic can get you in order of price. Starting with a couple of the mics that you're most likely to have already, the headset mic and your webcam mic. So this is probably about as good as a headset mic is going to sound. If you're going for that McDonald's drive-through sound or like a drunk captain that's flying you somewhere. I mean, jokes aside, you can hear me. Frequency response isn't great, so you're not going to have real deep deeps or high highs. The pickup range is pretty tight, so you're really only going to hear things that are coming out of your mouth and things in this vicinity, and it sounds kind of choppy. Moving on to the webcam mic. So this is the microphone attached to the Logitech Brio that I have. It sounds okay. Pretty much any webcam that you pick up these days is going to have a built-in microphone. Several of them probably more advanced than the one you're hearing me talk on now. Many options these days have 2 or 3 microphones to do enhanced noise cancellation on board. If you ever spoken to someone on Zoom or one of the Google Meet, something like that, and you don't see a microphone evident, it's a good chance that they're just using their webcam audio and it sounds okay. Now, a benefit to the webcam audio is it does probably have a wider pickup range, though it's going to vary mic to mic. But if you're doing something that requires you to have more space, you need to move around, then that's going to give you more flexibility to be heard in various places in your room. Downside to that kind of pickup is you're going to get more echo. So unless you've got a pretty sound dead room, which I don't, you can see all the walls. If you had some sound paneling, that could really be cleaned up a bit, but otherwise you get that echoey room kind of sound. Okay, so this is what it sounds like to use the Razer Siren mic that I have. It's a pretty good example of a streamer-centric USB mic. It's got several different options when it comes to pickup patterns, so it can be useful for capturing an area, or just if you're sitting here talking into it. It tends to have kind of a wider pickup range, so if you've got a noisy environment, you're going to get a little bit more of that. However, that can be good if you're doing something live action and you need the ability to move around the room. Anytime I've done a cooking stream in the past, this has been the best mic to use because I can move freely in my kitchen and it's able to really hear me pretty much anywhere in the room. The sound quality is really good and it doesn't have a lot of the choppiness that you're getting in some of those other mics. There's a lot of options for USB mics out there. Typically, you just want to make sure that it has a good response range, which is 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz is what your human ear can hear. There's a lot of microphones in this classification that are perfect for streaming, many of which are designed specifically for streamers. And you can get it anywhere from probably $30 all the way up to the 120-130s, which is where you start to get into the studio mic range. And last but not least, we got the AT2020 from Ars Technica. This is the microphone that we use at the office. So I actually upgraded to this when we started working from home during quarantine because I wanted the audio to be on parity with what we do at work. Now it should sound exactly like it sounds whenever we're recording a Let's Play or streaming from work. This is closer to a studio quality microphone, though I wouldn't call it necessarily that, even though I think they probably label it as such. It also is offered in a USB version, but this is the XLR, which means I also have to have a mixer in order to be able to use it. My favorite thing about this mic, though, is that it has a really tight pickup range. With any of these other microphones, there's an air conditioner I have in the back of the room. It's on now, and you can't hear it on this mic. I had to turn it off when I was using the other microphones, because they would have picked it up. So you have to be much closer on this microphone to get good sound out of it, but that's also a strength in that you lose a lot of that room noise. Much less echoey. You're not getting all the reverb because it's not picking all that up. You have to be right up on the mic to really get good sound response out of it. However, it has great range, all the deeps, all the highs. When you get into these fancier mics, you start seeing things like cardioid, which is just explaining the pickup area, the shape of the area the microphone can hear, and it's essentially like a heart, which is why it's called a cardioid. So if you think of the microphone being right at the tip of the heart and then kind of ballooning out like that, it's a really round heart in most of those pickup patterns. So it doesn't really pick up much from this side. It's just designed to kind of envelop the mic on the front. Obviously, I listed these kind of in order of increasing price. Your headset microphone, you probably already have one if you've got any sort of gaming headset. Your webcam mic, you've probably got one of those if you've already got a webcam. Anything like a USB mic, you could pick up for a not terrible price. There's a pretty good range on these, anywhere from $30 up to this one I believe is over 100. And then the AT2020 and studio class mics like this are going to be also in that 120-150 range, but then you're also probably going to have to invest in a mixer. Though, as I said, this one does have a USB version, so you could use this same microphone only through USB.
Yep, this is your captain speaking. I gotta be honest, I'm lost. I've been looking out the window for about 3 hours now, and I do not recognize anything. I may have had a few too many to drink before boarding the plane tonight. That's on me. So we're just gonna wing it. Really appreciate you flying with us today. Complimentary drinks. I've had several. Enjoy.
Okay, that was a lot of talking, so this one's for you, my visual learners. All right, let's start with video. Starting at your console. HDMI cable. Into the HDMI out. This cable goes into the input on one of your switcher ports. The output on the switcher goes into the input on your Elgato. And the output on your Elgato goes into the input on your gaming monitor. So that's the chain for the HDMI. Your capture card, of course, needs to connect via USB or whatever format it has. All right, so that's your video pass-through. Out of the console, into your switcher, which you can get rid of this and just go straight to your capture solution. You don't need one of these. It just helps if you have multiple consoles. From the capture card into your gaming monitor so that you have a zero latency place to play. Webcam, also USB. You need a lot of USB ports. That's just how this works. Sorry. Okay, let's talk about audio. This particular mic is USB, so all I need to do is actually connect it, just plug it into the front panel there. All right, now the microphone is good to go. Okay, but how do you incorporate the mixer? So some mics will have a secondary 3.5 millimeter jack, usually for monitoring audio levels, or they will just be natively 3.5 millimeter. You need to make sure that whatever mixer you get can support an output from your microphone. And if you run it into one of the channels on the mixer, you have the ability to change your microphone level just by moving the sliders up and down. To incorporate gameplay, you'll need a monitor that has an audio out. Game audio is already getting to your computer through your Elgato. But you can mute that and instead use the audio out from your monitor and plug it into another one of your channels. This will give you the option of turning the game audio down on the fly just by moving the slider around. So next time someone's saying, "I can't hear you, the game audio is too loud," Beep. Good. The other thing that this will let you do is if you have Discord audio going, like say you're chatting with your friends at the same time, in Discord you can specify a different audio output device from your normal sounds. If you assign it to, say, the speaker out on your computer or the line out on your computer, and run that into a channel, now you can balance your chat audio as well. To get this all back into your computer for your stream, just connect another 3.5mm cable from your mixer output into the line in on your computer. You'll need to set that up in OBS as an additional audio input, but that's really not that difficult. Just look it up, you'll find a lot of tutorials on how to do it. So as promised, it's a giant pile of wires when you finally get it all set up. And this doesn't even include the various power cables, keyboard, mouse, and all the other peripherals you already have on your computer. Now I feel it would be remiss of me to have explained all of this and not given out a couple warnings. Planning on starting a career as a streamer or content creator is kind of like planning on getting superpowers by licking a nuclear reactor rod. I mean, I guess it might be possible, but it's probably going to end in horror 99.99999% of the time. I know it seems like there's a lot of content creators out there, but you got to remember that it's unlikely that it will necessarily be you that makes it. I don't tell you this to crush your dreams. I honestly just ask that you don't invest money in this until you start showing a profit. Let's take the US for example. There is 314 million-ish people living here right now. If even 1 million of them, which I think is a really high number, are making a living as content creators, that's still 0.3% of the population. So if you're in a room full of people and you look left and you look right, none of them are making it. Unless you're at TwitchCon or something, in which case, okay, fine. Maybe the odds are a little stacked. And in reality, most people that even make it in this business are not going to be making a lot of money. Please don't let that end your dream. All I'm asking is that you do it as a hobby to start with. Get your feet wet without spending a lot of money, without investing all of your time into it. Do it in nights, do it on weekends, do it on free time. Make it something that you do for the passion of it, not something you do thinking it's going to be your job. As I said at the beginning, most of this extra stuff isn't necessary. You can really just get started with a single computer in the evenings and find out what's out there for you. As many of you are probably already aware, being on the internet isn't always a friendly place. Make sure that you're confident, that you're secure, and that you feel comfortable with yourself before you put yourself out there like that. I hate to put a downer at the end of the episode, but I just would feel really bad if I just talked a bunch of people into buying a bunch of equipment for a job that is really, really hard to get. I'm not saying don't dream, just dream responsibly, because that's how dreams work. That's been Technical Difficulties. See you next week.